You can map HTML events to JavaScript functions to perform UI functionalities. I have a paragraph here, which is demo1. I'm assigning inner HTML property of demo1 to hello whenever submit function is called. But I want to call this function whenever a button is clicked. For that, I'm going to add a button. I'm going to name my button as submit. And whenever this button is clicked, it's going to fire its onClick event. And whenever onClick event is fired, I would like to call my submit function. So I'm going to copy this function name with its parenthesis and assign it to onClick event here. If I refresh my page, I can see that submit button. If I click on it, it's going to print hello on my paragraph here. Now, instead of printing hello, I would like to get the text from a text box and assign that value to my demo paragraph. For that, first, I'm going to add a text box. For that, I'm going to add an input tag and set the type to text and set the ID to txt name so that I can access it. And then I'm going to add a couple of break lines so that my UI looks nicer. Now, if I want to get the value from this text box, I'm going to use the same method that I use to assign inner HTML for my demo1 element here. First, I'm going to create a variable which is going to be name. And to get the value from the text box, I'm going to use this method, get element by ID. But instead of getting demo1 element, I want to get txt name element and assign its value to my name variable here. I'm going to copy this name variable and assign it to my inner HTML here. Now, if I refresh the page and enter my name here and then click on submit, it's going to print my name on the page. If I enter my wife's name and then click on submit, it's going to print my wife's name here. You can also handle events related to your input tag. Let's say if I want to call this function whenever this text box is changed. So I can handle its onChanged event and call this function instead of clicking on the submit button here. I'm going to get rid of this button, and whenever this input tag is changed, it's going to call this submit function. Now, if I refresh the page, then button is gone. If I enter my name here and then click somewhere else, it's going to call that onChanged event, which is going to call submit function. If I enter John's name here and enter tab, then also is going to call that function submit and print name of John in demo paragraph here. You can also use on up event, which will get fired whenever you press a key in your text box. Let's say if I start typing John, then as I'm typing, you can see that it's printing the value of this text box to the paragraph. And like on key up, there are so many events that you can map to JavaScript function and perform UI functionalities. We're not going to dive into HTML events because this course is for JavaScript. This is not HTML course. But what I want to show you here is you can map your HTML events to JavaScript function and perform a lot of UI functionalities. With this, I'm done with the first part of this tutorial. From the next section, I'm going to talk about all the intermediate and advanced section of JavaScript and start with the part 2 section of this tutorial.